Welcome to The Cross in the Classroom, Educating with Eternal Values, the podcast where faith and education come together. Join us every 2 weeks as we connect with the inspiring voices of Valor Christian High School, teachers, students, and leaders, sharing stories of growth, purpose, and the eternal values that guide our community. We're glad you're here.
Welcome back to The Cross in the Classroom. Today we're introducing someone who's bringing a powerful mix of faith, mentorship, and football expertise to the Valor community, our new head football coach, Mike Sanford. Mike has spent years coaching at the college level, leading teams at major programs like Boise State, Notre Dame, and the University of Minnesota. With deep family ties to the game, which he will tell us about, football has been a part of his life for as long as he can remember. Now, he's stepping into a new chapter, moving from college football to high school, where he's eager to pour into young athletes, not just on the field, but in their faith and character. In today's conversation, Mike shares what drew him to Valor, his vision for the program, and how he plans to cultivate a culture of excellence built on integrity, leadership, and faith. He also opens up about his personal faith journey, the mentors who shaped him, and what excites him most about leading the next generation of athletes. Whether you're a football fan, a student, maybe a parent, or just someone who values strong leadership, this episode will inspire you. Let's get started today with Valor's new head football coach, Mike Sanford. Mike, welcome to Valor.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Mrs. Tisdale, as I'll call you.
We were just saying that's weird when you're a new teacher.
Yeah.
But you've got the Valor gear. You've been here for a few meetings. We want to get to know you.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry that I underdressed. I was coaching ball this morning, had a morning practice, and yeah, it's just been so fun getting to know the community here at Valor, especially the community that exists. I mean, there's you don't really know Valor until you're on campus on a school day. And so even in the interview process of going through it, I don't feel like I really got to know Valor, which is awesome because it's almost like the best kept surprise for me of this job happened after I accepted the job, which is to be around the community that it really is the students, which is the heartbeat of this campus.
Well, now that you've been here a few weeks and you've been on campus during the day, and when kids are here and you've worked with some of them now, what does it feel like? What's your first impression?
Just welcoming, great environment, great atmosphere. I've kind of found some unique niches that I haven't had a chance to have from a college football coaching perspective. My favorite part of the day by far is the school lunch here. It's just awesome. There's just there's students that are all over, sprawled around campus. There's faculty members, students that are in, they could be in the arts building, the academic buildings, the athletic building. So for me, the very first day I went, I was like, who do I sit with? And I am 43 years old. I felt like I was my first day at school and I went to a new school. I'm like, where do I sit down at? I ended up sitting down next to a bunch of boys lacrosse players, and I love the fact that you get to know the student body here, the student population so well. And obviously I got a lot of football players to get to know, but I love getting to know people from different walks of life and different spaces on campus. And that's probably been the part for me that's been so fun.
Yeah, that's a special part here of the school. For those who don't know your history, you've been coaching, you played. Give us that rundown.
Well, so I grew up in a coaching family. My dad played at University of Southern California. He played for USC. I think won a national championship, maybe two, in the 70s. And my mom was I think she was an alternate song girl, the white song girl. So she was a part of that. And they met. They met actually on a Bible study for frat and sorority row Bible study. So I was raised around the game of football. My dad coached at West Point Army when my sister was born. I was born at VMI, Virginia Military Institute. And then we moved quite a bit when I was a kid. I went from being born, and then 6 months later, we were in California. My dad was coaching at Long Beach State, and then went to Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana, back to USC, which is where I grew up. So if I sound like a SoCal guy, it's because I spent a majority of my lifetime in Southern California when I was, in the formative years. And that was really took me all the way till my freshman year of high school. But I ended up moving schools in high school twice. My dad left USC to go to Notre Dame. And so went to high school in South Bend, Indiana, sophomore and junior year. And then my senior year, came back to the same high school in Southern California. My dad was coaching for the Chargers in the NFL. At the time it was San Diego. So a lot of the current students don't know them as the San Diego
like, who are you
Superchargers.
talking about? Yeah.
But so I grew up in that and it was had a very unique high school experience myself, just because I felt like a lot of stop and start. Ended up getting a chance after my senior year, just 1 year of being a starting quarterback, to get a scholarship. And I ended up getting a scholarship to Boise State in Boise, Idaho, and just fell in love with football, fell in love with coaching, had some really good mentors there. Chris Peterson was my position coach, a legendary college head coach, University of Washington, now on Fox, doing the analyzing. And then just my dad was coaching at the same time, and he had an opportunity for me to be a graduate assistant for him as the head coach at UNLV. And I jumped right into it. I got married and jumped into it, and I coached 18 straight years. And 14 moves later, found ourselves here in Colorado. And that 18-year period of time was unbelievable growth, some crazy mountaintop moments, and a lot of valleys, a lot of tough times. I went from being the offensive coordinator at Boise State to the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame right around the time I was 32 years old. And then I became a head coach. I was the youngest head coach in all of Division I college football at Western Kentucky. And then 2 years later, it's one of my favorite things to share with people, I was the youngest fired head coach at Western Kentucky looking for a job. And I ended up having some really good experiences, a lot of really good learning moments for me as a coach. I've always loved the purity of coaching and the purity of the game of football, which is to mentor and develop, but also to bring about, the relational equity that you can build with people that you're entrusted with leading. And I love that part of it. That part of it's been taken a little bit out of the college game with so much transferring, and it's the transfer portal and NIL world. And so high school football was something that I wanted to explore and look into. And so, because I just think there's still a purity to the game as it relates to development. And so when the opportunity to interview with Brian Ritz and Keith Wall for this job came about, I was ecstatic, because I've known about Valor for quite some time, and really excited to have a chance to develop the young men here on the football program and on campus, and develop those relationships.
The difference is you've coached at lots of different levels, right? Well, I guess college and high school, right? Yep. The difference is, what do you think you're going to do differently here than you have done in your college experience?
Well, it is high school football, and football is a game that needs to be enjoyed. It needs to be fun, and I think the pressures that may exist just to keep your job as a college head coach or college offensive coordinator are real. Sometimes you lose the fun aspect of it in creating fun. And so that's gonna be number one, is I want this to be the most fun part of our students' days, is to be a part of a football team. And Friday nights to be a celebration of all the hard work, but also a culmination of a lot of team bonding, team building. I want Friday nights to be a lot of fun. And my dad actually finished out his coaching career at the high school level. I was able to ask him some advice right before I took the job. And he just said, remember what you love about coaching football, the things that give you great joy, and really, really find a way to lean into those things. And so one of those is, I love the quarterback position. I played it, I've coached it. And so when you get a head coaching job, the one thing that's fun is that I got to name myself as a position coach. So I named myself the quarterback coach, because I want to have fun coaching the position. And it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. So I also really enjoy calling plays, offensive plays. And so that's something that I my dad's advice, is that something that I get great joy out of? Yeah. Of course, until somebody takes out their dentures from the crowd and throws them down at you, they don't like the play call, right? I've had that happen before, figuratively. But yeah, I want to make it as fun for the young men that are playing here at Valor, but also I want to have a lot of fun doing it too, and realize it is a game that's meant to be fun.
Yeah. Tell us about your faith journey. Tell us about your family and where you are with your faith and where you want to bring that to Valor.
Yeah. So my mom and dad, I think my faith journey began with both my parents. I think neither of them were raised in a Christian environment. My dad found the Lord through what ended up turning out to be my father-in-law, and kind of the two of them were raised in a similar environment where neither of them knew a personal relationship with Jesus as high schoolers. I didn't know my wife at all until we were in our 20s, but there was a story that predated us that involved our two dads, and they were high school teammates in Los Altos, California. My dad was the starting quarterback. Her dad was a backup quarterback. My dad was a big-time national recruit, had offers from crazy places, Notre Dame, USC, Stanford. The team was number one in the Northern California region, CCS. And my dad broke his collarbone his senior year. Season's over, hopes and dreams of the Los Altos Knights were gone, right? And his backup quarterback was a guy named Mark Mitchell, who now is my father-in-law. And so my dad, in his own journey, became a believer through Young Life, a ministry that, is to the kind of the unreached kids in high school. And as a result, my dad started mentoring my father-in-law, and the two of them found their own faith journeys very, very uniquely different. They went to different colleges. And it ended up that my dad got into coaching and my father-in-law got into the pastoral role. So I married a pastor's daughter. And I would say that for me, my faith journey, I was raised by two really strong Christian parents in a great Christian home, went to youth group, went to Christian camps in the summer. But I think for me, I've always been a bit of a kind of the black sheep of the family in a sense. And I think I needed to have my kind of rebel rouser era come out. And that was college. That was my freshman year of college. I went to Boise State. It was my first time having independence. My mom, she kept her thumb on me pretty good back in high school. And I went to college and I did what a lot of college freshmen do, and made a lot of mistakes and found out, frankly, that life that I was pursuing was not for me. And at about the same time, some non-football student athletes at Boise State just started running into me randomly around campus and asked me if I'd be involved in being a part of a Bible study with them. And I was like, sure. And I ended up jumping into the Word. And for me, that was a point in time in my life where 9/11 had just happened. That was a kind of a bizarre time. It was almost like my generation's 2020 in terms of just a real transformative time, good and bad for a lot of different people. For me, I kind of found myself in that time away from home, making a lot of decisions, seeing the images of 9/11, realizing that stuff like this could happen. It felt a little apocalyptic. That Bible study and being a part of that came at the exact right time. And it was really the first time in my life where studying the Word of God, the words on the pages were like jumping out and almost penetrating like who I am as a person. And like, it was the first time in my life I saw the power of truth in my life. And I gave my life to Christ as somebody who had given my life to Christ probably 52 times as a child, right? Altar calls at youth camps, but it was a personal decision. And for me, it came at probably the exact right time because I had a lot of really fast kind of life decisions coming up, including marrying my wife, Anne Marie. So, where it is now is my wife and I have been involved in ministry. Certainly, I've always viewed coaching as a ministry. I've always viewed the relationships that I have with players that I coach. I want them to see what it looks like to be a man of faith, to be a man of God, even at public schools. Have
you faced problems with that at public schools? How have you incorporated your faith in? Is this the first Christian school that you've worked for?
Yes, I worked at Notre Dame, which is a Catholic school. Obviously, very free to talk about your faith. I would say this: I've been impacted from a ministry standpoint by Young Life. My wife was on staff with Young Life. We started a club when I was in high school, or actually in college at Boise State, and we led a club together. And for me, throughout my life, one of the taglines from Young Life is something that I've always applied to ministry, which is earn the right to be heard by relational equity, build relationships. And so I think that was a little bit more how I approached sharing my faith at a public institution, was just build a relationship, model Christ. And then when opportunities arise because of questions that you're asked, or maybe an opportunity to, invite a player to church with us on those are things that our family did quite a bit. And then we found that a lot of the players that I coached in public schools, they just wanted to be around our family. They'd end up hanging out with our family and come into meals at my house and stuff like that. So I think that's where a lot of the earning the right to be heard has been a big thing in my life.
Yeah. So taking that faith now here on the field, coaching, you get to do all of that.
Shackles
very
are off.
Openly. It's part of our culture. How do you plan to use that?
That's a really good question. I think that the biggest need I believe for maybe some of these players to see it from me is I want them to see genuine authenticity in my faith story. That it's not something that I just say. It's not something that I do, talk about in an interview setting or, when a microphone is in front of me. That's something that's near and dear to who I am, is that I want who Jesus has been in my life for them to feel that, see that, and for me to talk about that, but very authentically and genuinely, as opposed to checking the box. And so I just want to be open and honest about my faith journey with the players that I'm coaching. But I also do believe that I want to earn the right to be heard, even with the players that I'm entrusted with at a Christian school, because I feel like if I earn that right by relational equity, then the power of God's work in and through my life is that much more salient, because they see authenticity in a genuine aspect of that. Because I realize that not every student athlete that I'm coaching is a born again believer, or even remotely professed to be that. Certainly, there's probably a lot that are just like me, that are in the household, saying all the right things, doing all the right things, going to the right camps, even probably haven't gone to missions, but haven't had that true transformative relational piece with their Creator by accepting Jesus into their life.
What do you see as your challenges? You have time before football, but just in general and with football, what do you see as your challenges, and what are your main goals?
Yeah, I think that the number one challenge is just to just balance the relational part with the excellence that is desired. And I think that the question is perfectly worded in the sense that there's challenges and there's goals. And I think the challenges can be with the goals, because what the reason I picked Valor as somewhere that I wanted to pursue high school coaching, and I did, I was very excited about the opportunity, is I read through the core values, the mission statement of Valor as a school. And I love the fact that, and this is the challenge and goals conversation, but I love the fact of unapologetically Christian, distinguishably Christian school, but also strive for excellence in all areas. And so in football, our goal is to be perennial state champions. I believe that Valor Christian isn't just I think it's a crown jewel of a program in school and frankly, football program, not just in the state of Colorado. And I do believe that. I think it's a crown jewel nationally. And so I want this program to be able to tell the stories of young men that are growing and developing together and striving towards winning a state championship, but also have national relevance in what we do and how we do it. But balancing that kind of what is the purpose of being here? It's to honor and glorify Christ. It's to build His kingdom, but also the challenge is, that is the goal. And how can you balance those two things perfectly? I'd love to know the perfect person that's found the perfect way to do it, because us football coaches like to put a lot of work in. We put a lot of hours in, and it can be a challenge in terms of balancing it all.
Yeah. Give us a glimpse into your coaching style and what what the football community has to look forward to?
I think energy is something that I've been described by others as having a lot of energy. I like to jump all the way into something right away. Like I don't put my toe in the water and just see if I like the temperature. I just full send and go on and jump in the deep end, and then figure it out as I go. I think that full investment right away. I'm gonna pour myself into the relationships right away, and then I think as a football coach, I like to be aggressive. I mean, I like to utilize different aspects of schematic football to be tough to deal with for opposition. And so that's something that I try to bake into the culture of our program is that we're going to be attacking. We're going to be attack minded. We're going to attack workouts. We're going to attack off-season program. We're going to attack our practices. Therefore, we're going to attack how we actually play the game of football. So yeah, I'd say just a lot of energy, and I do believe that in leadership, a team takes on the overall persona of their head coach. And so what will I believe to be true of Valor if the message is getting across to these young players is that they play with a ton of effort, ton of energy. Like you watch that team play and you're like, whoa, those guys love each other. And that's something that I want to be part of who we are as a football program.
Is that something you learned as a player? Is that who you were 20 years ago?
No, I think I've evolved. I've evolved a little bit. I think, when I was a player, I was a pleaser. I wanted to please my coaches. I wanted to please, whatever practice. I wanted to have a perfect practice for a coach. And I think I've just kind of gotten over caring too much about that. And I'd say now it's more, I love my calling and I understand it's a calling. So I think as a player, I was probably a little bit more insecure, because it was like physical performance. And I think as a coach, I've just wanted to just be all the way in with what I'm doing, because it does require a lot of hours. It is a high stress, high pressure industry that you work in. But I just want the players to feel the passion, and then they ultimately kind of show that same passion.
Yeah, it all feeds, right? Feed each other with that. I like to ask everyone, and I think it's good for our community to hear from you. Your prayer for your role here and for this school.
Yeah, I would love my prayer for what my role would be here is that that the entire student and faculty and parent community is made better by this football program. That the football program is something that not only everybody is proud of, but the people want to gravitate towards. Because I do think that sports and then football being, having been in the media, it is by far the number one most covered sport in the world, certainly in the United States. But I think that football can be a tremendous front porch for all academic institutions that have football. And I want this to be a football program that Valor is very proud of, but more importantly than that, that just represents the values, the Christ-like values of what Valor is and has been and will continue to be, but it represents it incredibly well.
Yeah, well, we have that prayer for you, and we're really excited to have you here, and look forward to a big season, and just to having you here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for joining us on The Cross in the Classroom, Educating with Eternal Values. We hope today's conversation inspired and encouraged you. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay connected with the Valor Christian High School community. Keep living out faith, learning with purpose, and growing in grace. Until next time.